Hello and welcome to McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk here on beautiful Thursday, April 9th, 2020. I am the first half of the name, Pat McAfee. Sitting to my left, the incredibly chiseled jaw man, AJ Hawk. Attaboy, AJ! Hey, AJ! Attaboy, AJ!
It's good to be with you, Pat. I know Diggs has just started his trek to try to walk in a treadmill for 24 hours straight or get to above 35 miles, so it's an exciting time right now.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. It might be April 9th, and it might be day X of quarantine from COVID-19, but what everybody will remember is that Thursday, April 9th was the day that a man from Plumboro, Pennsylvania, a man that was a former Division I athlete, a man that is... You all right, AJ?
Division I athlete, high school or college? I told you I've watched his high school tape. I just wasn't sure where he played in college.
He played Division I football at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was a highly recruited man whenever he came out of Plum High School. He was a freak athlete. Everybody loved him since then. He has not done much activity, but since getting engaged to his fiancée, Erica, he has maintained a diet and a discipline to get smaller for his wedding pictures. I'm not sure I've ever seen Diggs in better shape post-high school than he is right now. He walked this past weekend 12 miles over a 2-day period in 2 different things. Will he be able to, in the next 24 hours, walk at least 35 miles so he can make $3,500? Will he maybe make it to 40 miles where the monetary value will be doubled to $8,000? Will he make it to 45 miles, to 50 miles? We are not 100% sure. AJ, looking at that man right there, do you think he is on pace? He's only about 3/4 of a mile into this thing and 17 minutes into this thing. Nine. He's almost at his first mile, 17 minutes in. Obviously, he's a 20-minute mile. He's doing 3 miles an hour. Do you think that he has any chance of making it to 35 miles, which is more than a fucking marathon, in the next 24 hours?
Yeah, I do. I think Diggs is going to make it. I mean, he's going to rely on some of that Rust Belt grit that got him.
Yeah.
Right now, but I hate to tell him. I know he's wearing a knee sleeve on his right knee, like you see 60-year-old men wear at Disneyland when they're walking around with their little kids. A knee sleeve is not going to help you, Diggs. I'm just going to let you know.
AJ.
What's up, man? You look good.
When I was preparing this weekend, the one flaw that I noticed was that my knee was giving out, so I did something about it.
Well, guess what? If your knee is giving out, a knee sleeve from Walgreens isn't going to help it stay in.
It's actually from CVS. So.
It's a copper fit, too. Have a little bit of respect for the copper fit that Brett Favre can. Brett Favre wears the elbow, the wrist, the knee, the ankle, and that son of a bitch is slinging around with high schoolers down in Mississippi still to this day. Diggs saw that commercial. He was influenced, went right to the I had seen on TV aisle at CVS and said, give me whatever Brett Favre's got, but still, in that particular commercial, you wear that directly on the skin. Diggs chose to put it on top of his tights, which will ultimately, I think, end up with that thing just slipping down his leg the entire 24-hour period. Is that accurate in how this has started, Diggs?
Yeah, it's already started slipping down, but I don't like the way that it feels on my skin. So,
Well, do you like the way your knee falling off of your body feels? Or, I mean, which one are you choosing here?
we'll be all right. Don't worry about me.
Hey, we are, by the way.
Hey, we're at a mile. I just hit a mile.
Hey, yo, Tony! Only 34
more.
Yeah.
Bro.
Piece of cake.
He's got to be getting so nervous right now, like so early on in his trek to try to walk over 35 miles. I assume, so if he gets 35 miles, he gets $3,500, and it continues to go up from there each mile he walks. And I would assume all this money is being donated to the COVID-19 fight, right?
Diggs is
Absolutely, yeah.
Diggs,
Well, at least half.
is it like a 50-50 split? Are you doing a 50-50?
Just say proceeds. Say some proceeds go to
Proceeds
go to the fight.
COVID-19 awareness.
A portion. A portion.
A portion.
Yeah, there you go. That'll get you out. As long as you don't.
$56, just like Bezos.
$10,000. I mean, he's preparing for a wedding right now. Now, obviously, weddings, people that are having spring weddings are really in quite a bind right now. I was in a bind. I was quite behind, and I was looking for a soul to steal. I mean, it is in a bad spot. These wedding plannings for the spring. Diggs is in the middle of one. An extra $10,000 in his pocket is a massive ordeal. And by the way, it's only 49 miles away from him right now.
That's it.
It is 49 miles. $10,000. Big check that you got to take to big banks is only 49 miles away from him right now. That has to be something that's cooking through your mind right now, Diggs. Am I accurate in saying that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
He's in the zone. I mean, you got to respect it. He's in
Hey,
the zone.
no, this is Pat. This is exactly how it's going to go with Roger Goodell and the guys that get drafted. You're going to cut to him. Oh, excuse me, what? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, let's step on each other. No, I don't know.
What?
He's right.
No, you.
And we got Roger Goodell to do it. You know the best part about it? They said there's going to be 2 cameras in each prospect's home. One to like a live cam to show their family celebrating first off. What are you going to do if all of a sudden the live cam shows 50 people inside somebody's family room? That's not a great message.
I was just watching the College Game Day live on Instagram, IG Live. Maria Taylor was on there with Isaiah Simmons, and she actually asked him, she said, what are you going to do for the draft? How's your setup going to be? And he goes, a lot of people have been asking me if I'm going to do that 10-person limit thing. And he goes, and she goes, oh, well, don't tell anybody, you know. And he starts laughing. I think there's going to potentially be 70 people in these houses. It's going to be little COVID-19 hotspots. But, hey, you made it to the NFL. You made it to the NFL. Good for you. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out PR-wise.
Well, the funny thing I was reading, they said, so there's a camera that's always live showing the reaction of the family and friends that are there, whoever. I guess that you could claim you've been quarantined with them since the beginning. But then they're going to simulate walking like to the podium, and that's going to be walking to another camera where it's described that they will interact with Roger Goodell. So is Roger Goodell going to be interviewing these guys? Because I don't think Roger Goodell's ever conducted an interview.
They'll do the visual dap up. You know what I mean?
Oh, gosh, it's going to get so awful.
Maybe it's for this. Like, hey.
Elbow, buddy.
Welcome to the NFL.
Virtual elbow. Pat, we should do it. I don't know. We should do a Friday night draft, or Thursday night, I guess is when the draft is, like a draft show, a live thing during the draft.
I agree. I think we should. A lot of people have mentioned that we should go live during it. I think we should as well. There's potential fireworks all over this. And I've said this a couple times. Anytime you need to break up with somebody, you do it via text. Anytime you need to tell somebody bad news, you do it via text. Back in the day, you used to be frowned upon for that, but now it's just kind of normal. If anybody doesn't like what is happening, the ability to do it virtually is a lot easier than doing it in person. I am pretty pumped up about the potential, trades, not choosing to go somewhere. A lot of big names. What's going to happen to Tua? Is Tua going to tank? If people are tanking for Tua, now is Tua going to tank? Isaiah Simmons, are the Patriots going to make a move? Well, I'm pumped. I think draft is going to be electric. And the obvious and inevitable technology failures will be something we should definitely react to, because we're doing what they are attempting to doing on a daily basis. 5 hours a day we're doing it. The NFL, this billion-dollar company, will be trying to do it for one night, 2 nights, for a couple hours. I'm excited to see how they pan out in the internet world.
Oh, it's going to be awesome, because you're dealing with a lot of people who have zero awareness of what the internet is like. And it's going to be so fun. That's why I think it'll be fun for us to have like a live reaction show where we're watching it and we can see, because there's so many variables here that they have to deal with that they've never even thought about before. And that's on top of them trying to make decisions that are going to affect not only like the GM, the head coach's lives, but all their families, everybody. Like huge decisions are being made. And there's going to be a lot of technical glitches. It's going to be fun, man. I think it's going to be a good, distraction from what we're going through.
You know what else is a good distraction?
What?
Watching a guy that's never walked more than 10 miles in his life try to attempt to get to 50. Diggs, how we feeling?
Feel pretty good. I have increased the juice to 3.5.
Whoa, you're going to regret that.
That's what everyone's telling me.
Who's everyone in the Twitch comments?
Yeah.
Well, they
We're
know.
at,
Those big fat
1.4
stooges. What's that?
We're at 1.4 miles.
You are ahead of schedule here.
I feel pretty. The feet starting to hurt already.
Already? You're 24 minutes into a 24-hour?
That's all right. Those are bones. Those will heal.
They wore white shoes. There's going to be blood on those. It's
Roger Clemens, baby.
Kurt Schilling.
Roger Clemens.
Kurt Schilling. Kurt
Schilling.
Schilling. There it is.
Same thing.
This is your white shoe game, Tony. This is your white shoe game.
Overweight stooge pitcher.
AJ, listen.
Yeah, there you go.
That
Yeah,
AJ, we have certain things planned throughout the 24 hours. We don't know when they're going to happen, but there are things we've thought about and talked about potentially doing. Somebody should mute his microphone, but he just grabs it. I just sound.
he just realized 3.5 was a bad idea.
Did you hear that? In the back. We're going to have a trivia challenge, 10 questions. For each one he gets right, he gets an extra 0.1 mile. So he might be able to gain a mile just by his big old brain that he has. He went to Duquesne, Division I football player. That is also considered an Ivy League school if they had more grass on the campus. So he is a smart person, he says. I don't know if that's accurate. We're also going to play a game of Risk, I believe. The boys are going to play a game of Risk with him. If he wins, obviously we'll pick him up another half a mile. In those trivia questions, though, if he gets it wrong, I think we're going to lift his incline up just a little bit. I think that has to be a punishment, right? You can't have something that has only a reward. There has to be a punishment of some sort. So I think the punishment will be like 5 minutes at an incline or something. Like, do you have any ideas? We probably should have thought this out a little bit earlier.
No, I think he should, not only if he misses, like the first question he misses, you incline it, 5% of what he's at now. Next one he misses, you incline another 5%, and you hand him 10-pound dumbbells that he has to do bicep curls with for 10 minutes straight. Things like that. Let me know. I can spitball all kinds of things. I'll send you some tips.
Might as well get a fireman suit for him. Jeez, AJ, give him a break.
He doesn't wake up every morning like for his entire life and work out. Now, as of late, he has been, by the way, because he's getting into wedding shape. It's been very impressive the amount of discipline he's had.
When's the wedding? When's the date?
August. It's in August sometime.
Okay, you said spring. I was really worried when you said spring wedding. So late summer wedding. I guess that's still on the table.
I guess. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Fauci's saying we may never shake hands ever again with anybody.
Yeah, how are you supposed to get married if you can't shake a hand? Yeah. I mean, what about the consummation?
I'm saying we just throw shakas from now on.
I love the little shaka. Can my penis shake my wife?
Who was that with? Who were we doing that with, Pat? When we had the 100-mile guy on.
That's how this all started, is hang loose David Kilgore.
See, he gets it. You don't need to shake anybody's hand anymore. It's outdated.
Shaking dicks.
You can touch tips if you want.
Just the tips.
You guys are playing tummy sticks.
Just the tips.
Some things happen in our world that you should talk about. Is Clay Matthews coming on the show today or not?
I don't know. He said he's in the middle of a workout, and if he gets done, he will give us a call around 2. So I'm going to reach out via text here in another 30 minutes or so.
Is Clay Matthews always in the middle of a workout?
Yeah, he enjoys working out. I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that.
Yeah, he had like a vitamin milk or a protein milk that he came out with. Wasn't he a part of the protein milk?
Muscle milk, when he was drafted, I remember they cut to a camera to him, and he had like 7 bottles of the same muscle milk sitting right there. I'm like, this is, man, I wonder why you got some good cash for that.
This is good marketing. I bet you he's drinking all of those.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's still with them or not, but it was a good move for both of them.
He's a free agent. He and Todd Gurley are talking about how the LA Rams owe them money. What does that mean?
So when Gurley's first tweet came, he said, "What? They're late. Like you owe me money." Basically, he tweeted. Then Clay jumps in and says, "Yeah, me too. We need some interest on this." And I took it as a joke, and now it looks like it's serious.
Well, yeah, I don't think you're just tweeting at the team publicly like, "Hey, past due, send me money." And then Clay Matthews like, "Me too. Add some tax them." If they're going to be late with your money, you got to tax them. I don't know how that works because I always assume money just came. Now, granted, I was the same guy that signed my contract, and I thought signing bonus was just going to immediately appear in my bank account. That didn't happen for a couple months, but I would assume with the facilities being shut down, the accountants and the people in the back end that aren't allowed in the building, I could see how something like maybe owing somebody a few $1 million could potentially slip through the cracks. And I think that's what Todd Gurley and Clay Matthews, because the best way to get anything done is to publicly shame them. And that's what they're doing on Twitter right now. The Rams have not answered. I guess they're saying they're not going to answer. But this is a pretty wild scene that $1 billion, by the way, Kroenke, not only does he own the Rams, he owns the Rockies, the Avalanche, Arsenal, the LA Gladiators, and a couple other teams.
Denver Nuggets.
This dude owns every sports team there is, basically. I wonder how many of his players haven't been paid and if they're expecting paychecks anytime soon.
Well, we will see. I guess Gurley and Clay are the two guys that are going to put it out there and see, are we going to pressure these teams into making sure we get paid on time? Maybe the teams felt like, hey, in these times, you'll get paid, but it may be a few weeks later than what your contract says it should be. But I guess the players are holding them accountable. So, yeah, you're right. Publicly shaming them, calling them out, on a public platform. That's the best way to get things done.
I don't know if it's the best way, but it's definitely a way that works, I think. April, what would it have been in their contract? April 7th, they're owed money? Is that what it would say? Like, hey,
well, it depends though, because they were both released, right?
Yeah, I don't know. So when they were
one was traded.
Yeah, Todd was traded.
Yeah, Todd's traded. So yeah, I guess he's owed a certain portion from the Rams, and maybe it's a whatever April 1st bonus check that he was supposed to get that's built in. I don't know what Clay's deal is like after you get cut. I'm not sure how they work all that out. You can look up people's contracts though, can't you? You have to read through 100 pages and try to figure it out.
Yeah, but who knows if they have those finer little details like, on April 7th, I guess some of those insiders tweet out like, today, blah, 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 gets paid $1 million because it's not. So I assume that information is somewhere.
Someone will dig. If this gets enough legs, which it seems like it already has, don't you think your guy Schefter's going to dig through it, or Rappaport, one of these guys?
Absolutely.
Andrew Brandt, he's a contract guy. He was the contract guy in Green Bay when I got there.
I was just told that Todd Gurley was not traded.
Yeah, he was released.
So they're both released. So I would assume if they're cut, there's something in there about the money that they're owed.
I guess maybe they were. I don't know. I honestly have no idea how it works out since they were both cut, and now a couple weeks later you're owed some money. I don't know. I'm not sure how this works. Hopefully Clay gets done with that workout and he calls us.
Here we go. Just got an updated little bit of a pivot here. Trent Dilfer told, I don't know who it is, TMZ Sports is reporting that Trent Dilfer says Tua Tagovailoa is a Hall of Famer and has a better arm than Dan Marino. Trent Dilfer is currently training Tua Tagovailoa. So obviously Tua's success does directly affect Trent Dilfer's future success in training quarterbacks, but who other than Trent Dilfer, who's with Tua every single day, would be able to make this type of remark? I'm not sure anybody. Trent Dilfer obviously won a Super Bowl, but he is widely heralded as the guy who won a Super Bowl because the defense was so good with that Baltimore Ravens team. He's done a lot with Elite 11s and training quarterbacks. Matt Hasselbeck says he's a good guy. He's been with Tua every single day. I think the hype in talk around Tua has become a bit negative here as of late, as we're rolling into the draft. A lot of people talking about his injury proneness, and a lot of people on television saying, if I'm somebody and I draft Tua in the top 5, I am potentially wasting a pick whenever he inevitably gets hurt. People are saying that on television. And then there's people like Tannenbaum, who used to be a general manager for the Dolphins, coming out and saying that you got to take Herbert over Tua. And people are like, well, if he's saying that, he's probably hearing something from somebody else. I wonder this Tua story, how it's going to unfold. But those are some massive words from Trent Dilfer saying that he's got a better arm than Dan Marino. Dan Marino used to have the quickest release in history and threw for all of the yards without ever winning a Super Bowl. And he's a Hall of Famer. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL that won't be a Hall of Fame, even though it is catered to quarterbacks making Pro Bowls and Hall of Fames. I just don't know how this Tua thing pans out, because when I was watching him play at Alabama, he was so good. He was so good. I feel like he could drop a ball in a bucket if he had to. Accuracy is the number one thing when it comes to NFL quarterbacks when you ask a bunch of people. I think he has that. But the durability, the surgeries, you can see why people are asking questions, and Trent Dilfer's trying to get in front of that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why Trent would say that, but no one's questioning Tua's playmaking ability or his arm strength or anything like that. The main concern and why there's been negative talk is strictly because of his injury history. He had a wrist that I think he broke in spring ball the first day one year. He had an ankle. He's got a hip situation. So it's not about his play. It's not like all of a sudden people are down on what he's doing on the field. It's just they're worried about his durability, if he's going to be able to hold up in the NFL.
A couple of those surgeries weren't real surgeries, though.
What do you mean?
Like, I think a couple years ago, those sprained ankle surgeries wouldn't happen. They would just have him in a boot and tape him up, and he'd be hobbled in the pocket instead of getting that surgery to get him back in 2 to 3 weeks. Like, I think down in Alabama, because they make hundreds of millions of dollars down there, but they have to spend the money so they can say that they're not for profit. I think they bring in doctors and surgeons and medical people, and they say, hey, we got this sprained ankle surgery that we can come in, clip something, he's back 2 to 3 weeks, feeling a lot better than he's ever felt, as opposed to the old days when he gets a sprained ankle, you're hobbled around, you're standing around or you're out a month or whatever. I think a couple of those surgeries, 2 of them were for sprained ankles that I think just a few years back wouldn't have been surgery. So he would have had that wrist surgery. He would have had that hip surgery, which I think people would have said, you know what, the hip thing was kind of a fluke injury. I think it's a whole different narrative because the science said down in Alabama, they're like, oh, we got the surgery for the sprained ankle thing. Do you agree with that, or am I completely out of place in saying that?
No, I mean, it may have been somewhat of an elective ankle surgery to get him back on the field quicker. So, yeah, I think there may be something to that, but it just shows you how tough it is to truly evaluate quarterbacks from college going to the NFL. Like, there's so many guys that look so good in college, and you just never know how they're going to transition into the league because it also has to they got to be in the right system. They got to have the right OC. They got to have a decent team around them to eventually succeed and not get beat to hell their first 2 or 3 years they play. So it just shows you, I think it's such a tough thing to truly understand, like, what's going to make a guy be successful at the next level. And we don't know. Everyone's pretty much guessing.
Sam Bradford, right, got hurt in college.
Yep. Yeah. A couple times, shoulder.
And then he got hurt in the NFL throughout his entire career. I think he made $100 million or something like that.
Yeah.
His first contract, massive.
Mr. Shipley said watching him throw and everything, he was – and by the way, to get hurt and continue to get paid and signed, the upside for Sam Bradford had to be next level. I mean, I don't think I ever really got a chance to watch him play. I think we played against the Rams in St. Louis whenever he was the quarterback, and I think he had a great game or something like that. And I remember all the hype about him, but I don't think anybody ever really got a chance to see Sam Bradford be Sam Bradford because he always got hurt whenever he was starting to hit a root. But A.Q. Shipley said whenever he went out to Arizona, like, hey, this guy is talented. I would think he would have to be, by the way, to keep getting signed after he get hurt, but he never really could get over that hump. What if Tua comes into the NFL and just never gets hurt and plays like Iron Man career like Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning like that? He could potentially.
Direct quote here from Trent Dilfer. He says he throws better than Aaron Rodgers and Dan Marino.
Well, Trent Dilfer's going to fuck around and lose a lot of friends, I think. I mean,
is he saying Dan Marino, too, just because Tua said, hey, look, I want to go to Miami. Can you just compare me to the greatest quarterback Miami's ever had?
I don't think you should take shots at the greatest quarterback Miami's ever had, and I don't think saying he throws better than one of the best ball throwers in the history of existence in Aaron Rodgers, that doesn't seem like the right quote, but I like that he's stepping out there and grandstanding for his guy that he's currently training. But, throws better than Aaron Rodgers? Hey, Trent, I mean, Hasselbeck says you're a nice guy. You take a lot of shots at kickers and punters, so I hate you. But like Hasselbeck has told me you're a good guy. Don't bring Aaron Rodgers' fucking name into this, please. Just don't do it. Like, it's just go to that, go to it, go to it. Don't bring that fucking guy's name into this, Trent Dilfer. You hear me? Don't do it. Just don't do it. The guy goes into the Matrix. Now, if Tua, by the way, ends up being anywhere near a conversation with Aaron Rodgers or Dan Marino, that's good news. But I feel like Trent feels as if he has to say these grand things to spin the narrative away from him just being hurt all the time.
Yeah, he's got to – I understand. And think about it. Trent, with what he's saying, it's never really going to come back and bite him. Like, let's say Tua goes to the next level and he gets hurt. It doesn't go against anything Trent's saying. Like, Trent's not saying, oh, he's not going to be hurt. He's not injury prone. He's saying how he throws the ball and how talented he is. So if he goes out there and he's not durable in the league, Trent's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Still has a great arm. Still very accurate. Still can make all the throws, but he just got hurt.
How about me saying I could do a better fucking play action than Tua, Trent? How about that? You ever heard of that, pal?
We'll hold him accountable, AJ. If he goes in there and he doesn't absolutely light it up, we will come back with hellfire and brimstone right to Trent Dilfer's mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Trent, you remember when you said he was better than Aaron Rodgers whenever he was throwing in a thing down in Nashville, pal? What a wild thing to say, by the way. There's a lot of ball throwers in the NFL. I'm not picking Aaron Rodgers, the guy who threw a Hail Mary that hit the roof in Detroit.
Yeah.
And then same season, a couple weeks later, crosses body against the Cardinals, throws 170. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I think throwing Aaron's name in there is a bit much. And what has Trent said about kickers and punters? I don't know of these comments.
Oh, the same stupid shit that they all say.
Oh, they're not even on the team. They're they're doing their own thing. They don't matter.
Yeah.
Sure he's a good guy, but I mean, doesn't mean he doesn't fucking stink.
Connor's really.
He must be a big Tom Brady fan too. Is that why?
Well, in 2014, after we lost to Kansas City Chiefs, he dubbed the Patriots dynasty dead, and then we went on to win 3 Super Bowls. Stooge Dilfer.
But is the Patriots dynasty dead now?
Yes.
All right, AJ. I mean, we didn't have to. Tua is Dan Marino. Come on. We're not talking about that right now.
Yeah, have you seen what Connor's wearing today, AJ?
I have not. Can you cut to him?
He's wearing
Check it out, dude.
He's wearing a NASA onesie.
I got it. Hold on. Got my astronaut helmet too.
He's a spaceman. He's a spaceman.
It's a onesie. You got to be. Are you getting warm? I've had onesies too, and they sound like a
Sweating
great
my
idea
ass
until
off.
you're sweating bullets.
Oh, believe me, I am. I'm losing lbs every second.
Well,
Not really. I still got those tits.
Connor's a different level, dude. He's a different level fool. Hey, let's check back in with Diggs. What is Diggs doing right now? He's having a time. It looks the exact same. Diggs, how you doing, pal? You're 30 minutes into this thing.
Feel good. We
40
are
40
40
minutes.
minutes in, and we're at 2.3 miles.
Going 0.3 ahead of pace.
Diggs,
strong,
it's got to feel
3.5.
good to kind of chip away, like, and you're making progress towards something. Like you're already at 2 point something. You're basically almost there. You have to feel great.
Basically, and you know what has happened is all the pain has gone away. So I think I've settled in.
You got that runner's high. You got that walker's high going.
Exactly.
Don't
This
stop.
is why old ladies go to the mall and walk.
Hold on. Diggs, we appreciate you. Let's get back to this conversation. Michael Lombardi said, by the way, he has a lot of history in New England. He said to, I don't know what, Gumpy just sent it to group text. Former NFL general manager Michael Lombardi, who worked with both Lions general manager Bob Quinn and coach Matt Patricia with the New England Patriots, said in his GM Shuffle podcast that he knows of 2 teams who flunked Tagovailoa on his combine physical, including one in the top 10. It's not just his hip, Lombardi said. It's his ankle. It's his wrist. He broke his wrist the first day of spring ball one year, and then they fixed it. He came back, and he re-broke it again. I mean, he's brittle. He is brittle. You can't deny it, says Michael Lombardi, who is a friend of our show, but boy, a lot of people dislike old Lombardi, including Jason Kelsey in his Super Bowl speech, gave him an actual shout out. But if 2 teams flunked him in his combine physical in the top 10, that information isn't just shared. You would assume that Lombardi is hearing that information from pretty notable people, and I would assume the Lions would be one of those teams. If you start piecing together what he just said, and I think what he's inferring to is that he flunked a physical at the combine. That's information that hasn't been leaked out that will be leaked, I assume, the week of the draft whenever somebody's looking for him to fall.
But what does a failed physical mean? Tua's coming off this hip surgery. Of course he's going to fail the physical because he's not 100% back from that yet. So you're always going to fail a physical coming off a surgery.
Yeah, I agree. And he said he wasn't 100% until weeks after the physical, after the combine. He didn't work out the combine because he couldn't work out the combine. Yeah. So what physical has he failed? Maybe he's an oos? Is he smoking weed out there?
Between the ear physical.
Whoa.
Whoa, what are you trying to say?
What are
Ty?
you saying, Ty?
I'm saying is that potentially what happened?
No, see, Trent
There's
Dilfer
no
said
mental
it.
physical that they can fail you on.
Oh, yeah.
Sure?
Personality test. They do fail them. That's why it's such a big deal that they can't go meet these guys and see these guys in person before the draft.
You don't get failed on personality test. It's not a pass-fail thing.
Sounds like someone who's failed it.
Yeah, sounds like you got it.
The Lions would flunk him in a mental test because he said he did not want to be in Detroit.
I think they would actually
That's a quick-
pass him for that.
Yeah, I
think
think
that's a winning answer.
I think Matt Patricia would be like, yeah, me neither, bub. Lions didn't deserve that.
They got to win. They need to win this year, man.
I thought they had to win last year. To be honest, Matt Patricia's friend of the show, and I think he even knows, like, yeah, I'm on day-to-day up here. We're on borrowed time in this entire thing. He knows it.
I'm so
Does
nervous.
Belichick take him back? Let's say this is last year in Detroit, does Patricia just go back and be his DC again?
What's his contract with the Lions? Because if the Lions are paying him, they always do that advisor or consultant role when another team's paying him to basically go win a Super Bowl somewhere else. That happens all the time. Coaches get fired, and then they're an advisor somewhere, and another team's paying them to go work somewhere else. I would assume whatever the Lions contract is, they probably have to pay him next year. I would assume Belichick, the way he operates, would love to pay somebody $0 and have him work his ass off for him. I think if I know anything about the Patriots organization, that sounds like something Belichick would sign up for. But I think Belichick's kid is kind of the heir apparent for that defense, right? Am I right?
Oh, yeah, Steve Belichick.
Yeah. Why does it seem like there's so much secrecy on who's calling the defense there? Like, do those show camera angles of it's Steve, right? Steve Belichick, his son with the long hair.
Steve and Gerard Mayo also, he called a few games this year, too.
No way.
But they never admit to it, though. They never
Theoretically.
admit to who's calling the defense, though, right?
They wouldn't switch play callers too, right? That's not something that would happen middle of the season for alternate games. Is that something a defensive coordinator would do? Change it? Hey, this week, this person's going to call plays next week. Now, granted, the Patriots have done things differently for a long time. Is that normal? There's no way that's normal. They're just trying to give Gerard Mayo a little bit of love here, right, publicly?
I think so. It'd be very unusual to see the defensive play caller change from game to game or change over the course of a season without somebody getting fired. Like the only thing I could see a new play caller stepping up is if you fired the initial play caller, but you never know what the Patriots are doing. That's why there is so much secrecy surrounding what's going on. So I don't know, man. I am curious as to who calls the defense.
I don't know. I would assume it's Bill, right? Not
Bill. Bill is the one who has been calling. I mean,
I
remember,
would assume game planning is Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah.
Strategy is Bill Belichick, and then maybe he teaches his son and
Mayo, yeah, and even with when Patricia, before he actually got promoted to defensive coordinator, he was assistant to the head coach for about 8 years or something before he actually got the title.
Hey, what is that? Monday, Tuesday, they go through what their game plan is going to be, and then Wednesday is when they lay it all out. Is that how it works normally?
Yeah, they build the game plan Monday, Tuesday, put it all together, stay there till 4 a.m, then come in Wednesday and they present the whole plan. At least they'll present, if you're like a defensive guy, they'll present first, second down, maybe a red zone package or something, and then Thursday a little bit more, and by Friday it's all in. So yeah, I mean, I get it's a big difference from being one of the main guys to build the game plan and then being the guy that actually is pulling the trigger, making the decisions on the spot in the game, calling the defense and radioing it into whoever is wearing the speaker. Like that's a big job, like to call plays in game. It's one thing to have a great scheme, but if you got to find a way to dial it up and see how the offense is trying to attack you and how you counter that. So it's not an easy gig. I know that.
Some coaches can panic, right, and choke play calling, right? That happens. That literally happens. Some coaches just get kind of locked in on a couple plays, maybe their sheet, because they're not fully understanding or they're scared to call something or get aggressive. Some coaches say, we're going to empty all the bullets in the gun this weekend, and then they don't at all because they get scared. I mean, people talk about players getting nervous and not performing up to their standards. I think play callers, that happens too on a very regular basis, and nobody talks about it.
I think coaches are the most nervous of anybody. I understand, because think about it. When you can't really impact it, when it's like, okay, I presented the plan, I've given it to my guys, it's up to them. Hopefully they execute. When you don't really have control over it, I think it does make you nervous. But you're right. It's one thing to have a great scheme. It's another thing to be able to use that scheme in game and adjust to what the other team is doing. I think it takes reps. You got to continue to do it over and over, and you're always learning. But some guys, yeah, they just get locked in. They got a giant play sheet. Okay, second and medium. Here we go. I got 4 calls on my sheet. Here we go. Well, let's just close my eyes. That one. And they do that. Sometimes it happens, and it's scary.
Do they overanalyze too? Like
Yes.
Sean McVay against the Patriots when the Rams were the best offense in the league. They only put up 3 points. Does it happen where he just gets so nervous he doesn't call the plays?
It didn't feel like Sean McVay was one of those guys, because I think the thing about Sean McVay was his swagger and his comfort and his confidence and the ability to just call out a play, and then not only his recall for situations that he's done in the past, and then it did feel as if it was one massive dud in that Super Bowl. He didn't have the same swagger that he normally had. And by the way, it's a lot easier to have swagger when your team's doing well. Like, I remember whenever I would kick, right? Rich Rodriguez knew nothing about kicking. All he knew was, keep your fucking head down. Right? So that's what he would say, because he related it to golf. He would try to coach me, right? Like he was trying his best, but I would miss a kick in practice or something like that. And in those kicks, I would lift my head up to see him and be like, keep your fucking head down. Well, there's a reason I'm lifting my head up, right? It's because I obviously hit the ball bad, and I just want to see where the hell it's going. I don't think that is actually, so whenever you have those moments where you have a lot more swagger when things are going well. Like, you don't get called out for lifting your head up when the ball's going through the uprights. You don't get called out for this whenever things are happening. But when things are going bad, it's a lot harder to remain that confident, upbeat person whenever shit's just not working. And I think it could take any person down, including the young phenom in Sean McVay. I think that is what happened potentially with Bill Belichick, just Jedi mind fucking that guy.
Well, didn't Sean McVay come in right after the Super Bowl right to the press and say, I got out-coached today?
Well, and he came up right before the game to Bill Belichick, and he said, I'm so amazed at how your ability to adapt week in and week out with a new game plan and this whole thing. And, yeah, there's an entire conversation where Sean McVay obviously looks up to Bill Belichick. But when you're going against the greatest of all time in the biggest game that there is, you're going to assume that you got a guy and a team that's been there, done that, versus Jared Goff. I mean, I think McVay knew going in, today's potentially going to suck. And it did. And it did. How about
I mean, they still should have found a way to win that game. What was the final score?
13-3.
Yeah, it was low. And that field goal was 10-3 until like a minute 20 left or something like that.
Yeah, and the Brandon Cooks play. Brandon Cooks wide open in the middle of the end zone, and Goff was just laid on it.
Or wasn't it McCourty that came over the top and broke it up?
Yeah, McCourty broke it up, but it was because Goff, he took
See, look at
two
that.
steps
That's Chris
later.
Collinsworth right there. You hear Chris Collinsworth right there?
Yeah.
He buried Goff instead of putting over McCourty. That's negative Boston Connor.
Is that a Collinsworth thing?
I think most broadcasters, commentators, at some point, they end up pointing out the negatives as opposed to the 10 positives that happen, right? That's what I feel like. Whenever you see when you see a guy wide open, a wide receiver wide open, there's a chance that he ran such a good route that he shook the shit out of the DB. And normally the commentators tend to point out the DB's lack of footwork or balance or anything like that, as opposed to pointing out the incredible route that was just run, right? It's kind of like it's all in your mentality. I think it's a glass half full, half empty type of person. I think most broadcasters get to that point because they just finally get jaded. They're like, this guy's an idiot, as opposed to like, this fucking route was insane. You know what I mean? I think there's always two ways to look at everything, and it all depends on how you want to present it.
Well, I think people also, when they're calling games, like they don't want to be looked at as the guy that's just saying everything is great and everything is rosy and both these teams are awesome. I know John Gruden got that was one of the things people would talk about him. You know, he just brings some juice to the booth up there, but he was largely mostly all positive. Like, oh, these guys are amazing. This is great play, blah. And people love, for some reason, it's like why we like car crashes. People love to hear when broadcasters are critical of other players.
I don't
either. I don't at all.
I don't I just don't.
Like if a dude, like say a guy catches a little swing pass or a little scat back in the flats, and there's a safety coming up trying to make an almost impossible open field tackle with nobody else around him, and he gets shook and he misses the tackle and the running back goes and he gets 25 yards. They're going to talk about how poor tackling that was. I would be like, hey, this guy's almost in an impossible position. He's just got to hang on, use his leverage. Hopefully his buddies come to help and slow this dude down and hopefully get a hand on him, trip him up maybe.
Yeah, but that would be humanizing it, right? And you can't do that.
They're not humans, you're right.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. Because I seen you in the Super Bowl year, they put your face in somebody's mouth. And, it was a little bit of a tough showing for you.
Put my face in somebody's mouth?
Yeah, you lead with your face a lot. I don't know how you led with that shovel.
Goddamn crimson chin.
Yeah, bang, let me get that thing in there.
All right.
You did. AJ, you did.
If you're wearing a helmet, you're going to use it, Pat.
Oh, so you think the way to stop the concussion problem, aside from the rules that are changing that have slowed it down, is take the helmets off the boys. Let's go backyard football.
No.
AJ Hawk says, Super Bowl champion, Ohio State legend, AJ Hawk says that if they take the helmets off, the game will be safer.
You know what? That may not be false. I don't know. But
is that
you're
what
not
AJ
taking
Hawk
the helmets
just said?
off. It's not football if you take the helmets off.
Oh, so me playing backyard football and street football growing up, it wasn't football? I feel like it was
that's backyard football. That's street football. That's flag football. That's not football.
Oh, I got it because there's a word before it. That's not NFL football.
No. That's not even college football. It's not even high school football.
Diggs was great at high school football. You should have seen Diggs.
Oh, my gosh. I know, man. That dude jumped off the screen at me.
Stickers all over his helmet.
He is allowed to use his arms, by the way. That was a discussion point. I think some people in this office, by the way, pretty negative people, didn't want him to have the ability. He's at 3 miles. Congratulations.
Attaboy, Tone.
Attaboy, Tone. There's a lot of people in this office that didn't want to allow him to put his arms down. I said, listen, he could drag it. If he wants to hold himself up and drag his legs on that thing, that's okay with me, as long because that takes a lot of work to hold yourself up. We used to get punished. We had to get on the the stepper.
Yep. They would take. Go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and at the beginning, the rules were you're not allowed to use your arms. Like, you no hands on the thing. Like, Mike Barwis, our strength coach, was there, and if you put your arms, get your arms off, yelling at you. And then I think they realized that when they put your arms on there, it's actually a full body workout as opposed to just a leg workout, because you can only hold yourself up for a couple minutes. If you got a 45-minute, hour-long punishment on the stepper, your body, you can't even. I was hanging on this thing at one point just trying to get through it. It's not an advantage. You're actually like killing your entire body as opposed to just your legs. And I think I think Diggs might be at that about mile 10 or mile 11. I think there's a chance that could happen.
Yeah, he should be able to use his hands. That stair climber, man, that was always like the thing that people would get if you're getting punished. If you're late, if you miss study table, if you miss something. And then I've watched them tape people's hands to the handles because the strength coach is going to try to sit there and make sure that he keeps on a fast pace. But then, guys are they'll try to hit the button down a little bit and try to slow the steps down. So if you just tape your hands right here and say, all right, buddy, you got an hour at this speed that I set. Have fun. Like, I've seen that happen.
I forget. Obviously I had my roommates and I had
Pat, I need to tell Diggs to send me the call-in number. Clay said he's good to call in at 2.
Oh, I got it.
Clay Matthews is calling in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Does he have, can we FaceTime him?
He said, does Pat answer or a showrunner?
Yeah, showrunner, Clay. Yeah, that's what it is. Actually, it'll be Ty Schmidt, massive Packer fan, which might not be good. I don't know if he likes the Packers or not anymore.
I actually have a Clay Matthews jersey.
Do you want to do it? Are you trying to do a FaceTime? I think he might only be able to do an audio call. I don't know.
Audio's cool. Hey, this is a big get. Yeah. AJ.
Let's go,
AJ.
Attaboy.
Dr. Drew, as you tell me, well, that was AJ's booking. That's Dr. Drew. You got anything up? But AJ's booking. Gave him a platform. That's AJ.
Well, it was. By the way, so we remember some.
I'll own it. Yes, it was. Dr. Drew was my booking. I don't have a problem giving people a platform. We need to hear all different sides of the argument.
I agree, but I'm just saying I'm tired of people coming after me for it. I'm sending you the number right now. 317.
I just sent it to him too.
Okay, perfect. You have it.
I'll send it to him.
What do we do for 9 minutes? Oh, I got a question. Falcons' new uniforms. Everybody's burying them for it.
I didn't mind him.
I like the all black.
Yeah, me too.
They said they look like the Mean Machine. And Carolina Panthers Twitter is savage. Matt Rule came in there. I don't know who he brought in to run his social media, but he was like, listen, whatever you need to do, bury anybody you want to fucking bury. That was
What'd they say?
Oh, you didn't see the tweet?
Oh, it was a meme.
No.
Okay, so by the way, the all whites, the all blacks, the red and black, the black and white.
Everybody's getting new jerseys. I just saw the Browns are going to announce new jerseys soon.
You know why?
They want to make money.
That is correct. They said that looked like the Mean Machine, Adam Sandler and the boys, and I think that's pretty accurate. Here's what the Carolina Panthers tweeted immediately upon the Atlanta Falcons releasing this picture.
No.
Good for the Panthers, man. I like it. They're probably going to end up 4th in the NFC South, but I absolutely love that they went for it there. I
do too. The reason I don't think I saw that is because normally, like, a team Twitter account is awful with terrible, corny jokes and just not anything good on there.
Some are transitioning, though, into being good social media. I mean, they're still the ones that suck.
Matt Rule may have brought that over. Think about it. When the college game, social media is gigantic. They put out highlight videos every single day from practice, so I bet he brought a few people in. I tried to tell the Colts this whenever I was playing there, and they had a guy running their social media who was a buffoon, but he has since been fired, thank God. But I tried to tell him, for a large portion of Colts fans, the only representative of the Colts that they see on a daily basis is your social media. So whenever you guys are running these terrible things and saying these terrible jokes and all this, that's what a lot of motherfuckers view as the Colts. And I just want to let you know, I very much live on social media and on Twitter. You guys have a bad account. It's not good. It could be very easy. And I was told, like, oh, you don't understand what we have to do and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, you guys, some people just don't get it. By the way, they hired a new lady. Her name was Amber. She was very good. The Colts took quite a turn very quickly whenever they let the new, younger social media person take over. But I think there's still some teams that are run by the old whites that don't really get that. That is a major marketing tool. That's a major platform for your team. And to a lot of people, that is the only representative they see of your team on a yearly basis, maybe, if they don't get to see the games from out of town. And it's especially, I think it's getting more and more relevant as the younger generation grows up that has grown up with social media their whole life. So I think it's gigantic. That's what you're representing the whole team through that Twitter account. All of them have tons of followers, I feel like, just by default, because people love their team. So I think it's a huge thing. It's gigantic for marketing. If teams actually thought about it, they would put a lot of time and money into it.
Yeah, they should. It's your own channel. It's literally your own television channel that has 1 million people that are going to watch it. I mean, it's smart. Anybody that doesn't think social media is important is a fucking idiot. And that is, I'm happy we're almost past the stage of people not realizing that. But the Saints have a great Twitter. The Saints have a great Twitter.
Yep.
Titans have a great Twitter. Ravens have a great Twitter. I'm assuming the Carolina Panthers are going to go in there and start having a great Twitter.
The Falcons did clap back. I mean, they did have a great response. They did a hashtag, like, salute to your team in the Cam Newton language.
Oh, See, this is what I like. This is what I, because it was always been like, well, we're not going to give anybody any bulletin board material. I'm like, well, I hate to break it to you, nobody fucking believes in that. I don't know. I don't know how to tell you that. Yeah, maybe a sports commentator saying somebody stinks is going to build a chip on somebody's shoulder. But if a team's Twitter account puts out something about another team, it's not like I'm going to punt a ball better because the Titans Twitter account said something about the Colts, or AJ is going to hit somebody harder because the Lions Twitter put out something about the Packers. That's just not real life. That's just not how it goes. And I think they're all starting to slowly realize that this is entertainment, this is marketing, this is a way to get your message out, and this is an awesome weapon for you.
Yeah, they should take note of what Vince McMahon has done.
Amen.
I mean, that guy seems to go to the corners of the earth to do whatever he can to market his product.
Now, they had somebody on their WWE IG Live last night. They have 20.8 million followers on Instagram.
Jeez.
There was 300 people watching, so that ain't it. Let's figure it out. Let's move forward. A man who has dominated social media in the last couple of days. He's not known for his social media, but every once in a while, when you need your voice to be heard, you get out there, you put 280 characters out there, and you shut down the fucking internet. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is a man who should have been a part of the all-decade team, just like me, Clay Matthews. That boy, Clay. Woo!
So much for having me on your show, Pat, AJ.
Well, we couldn't hear you there at the early, but I think you said thank you for having you on there, and we want to say no, thank you for coming on here, sir.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, what better time than now to come on and, voice my opinion on the matters that be.
AJ told me you just got done working out. Is that like a 3-hour, 4-hour a day type of thing for a guy that is as chiseled and jacked, as muscle milked as Clay Matthews?
No, today was a quick conditioning day, about 1:15. We got it in, and now I'm back on daddy daycare time. So nothing too serious.
Clay, before we get to the matters at hand, I would like to ask you about one specific play throughout your career thus far. In a Pro Bowl in Arizona, after practicing in the desert and driving for 3 hours in there was a punt. You were the only person on the field that tried. You almost blocked my first ever fucking punt in a Pro Bowl. Why was that the case? And do you ever regret that decision to give more effort than everybody else on the field?
Well, I just was trying to put myself in the same category as Sean Taylor. Everybody looks at him. He's gone down in history and R.I.P. But for his effort he gave in the Pro Bowl on another punter. So I figured if I could block your punt for a safety, possibly a touchdown, I might be in the same talk as Sean Taylor, and it just means a lot.
You touched my shin. Like, you were so close. I couldn't tell you. I don't know if that was something you did at Green Bay, if blocking punts was something you did on a regular basis. You were he touched my shin while I was punting the ball. And I remember thinking, and then I saw your hair float by me. And I was like, I just ate breakfast with this guy before the game. I just ate breakfast.
Well, obviously I didn't do a good enough job because I should have, I probably closed my eyes and didn't keep my hands down. So I'm glad you got the punt off. I apologize for the maximum effort given. I guess we were all just a little upset that we weren't in the Super Bowl.
Amen. I can respect that. AJ obviously talks glowingly of you, as does anybody who's ever watched you play football. The all-decade team. Now, granted, I was a part of the Pro Football Focus all-decade team. There's somebody that watches every single play. And for punting and kicking, it's very easy to say if somebody did good or did bad. Pro Football Focus has a lot of knocks because they don't necessarily know the coverage or the jobs or the roles of people in different positions, but punting and kicking is easy. After you were not named to the NFL's all-decade team, which is bullshit, by the way, you put out a tweet, and you hadn't tweeted since February. You said, I had 81.5 sacks, 91.5 career, Packers all-time sack leader, 11 sacks in 15 playoff games, Super Bowl champion, Defensive Player of the Year, 6-time Pro Bowl, 3-time All-Pro, 2 years at inside linebacker, 1-time All-Pro, running out of characters, you name it. And Clay, I'm going to be honest when I say this. I think a lot of us forgot about how big of an absolute savage you were, and I think it's because you don't do a lot of media. I think a lot of people feel as if you're not as open to the media and you're not about as self-promotion as much as a lot of other people are. Is there a reason that you decided to put that Twitter out or that tweet out? And do you think that that is the case why you were forgotten in that decade player?
Well, yeah. I mean, you touched on a lot of things that I definitely agree with. I think first off is, you look at what I was able to do in the first half of the decade as far as, statistically and, the seasons we were able to put together as well as winning a Super Bowl. And then you look at the latter half of, the 2010s and, we obviously didn't make the playoffs for a few years. Naturally my sack numbers went down because I switched to inside linebacker and, sack numbers are a sexy statistic. And, I just think, a lot of guys came on, strong in this latter part of this decade, and they were nominated ahead, and that's not to knock away anything from their game or anything. I just think people had forgot what I was able to do, and that's kind of why I put that out there, just because I felt like the voters got it wrong in this one, and regarding putting myself out there with social media and everything. I've just, I did that a lot when I was younger, and I kind of just got away from it. I just spend most of my time with my family and people close to me, and people whose opinion really matter to me. And I don't spend a lot of time on there, other than when I truly want to get something out there. And I don't know if that's harmed me with voters or has limited the accessibility from the media as far as people who want to vote for me or people who are liked and whatnot. But ultimately, I felt like my numbers, were there, and I would have liked to have seen myself on that list. But it is what it is. That's why I put that out there, and just put it out there and let the fans decide.
Clay, what about your follow-up tweet when you kind of co-signed with Gurley on the fact that the Rams may be a little late on some payment to both of you guys? Is that true? Like, do they owe you money at a certain date? And
I think there's a little confusion as far as when this bonus or roster bonus, whatever it's called, is supposed to be paid. I think we were both under the impression, Todd and I, in our contracts, that March 30 was to be the date. And my financial advisor reached out to me a few days after. He goes, "Hey, I haven't seen that money hit." So we've been going back and forth with the Rams, and honestly, it's money that's going to be paid. There's offset language that when we join a different team, that other team will have to pay it. There's also some confusion on the start of the calendar, or the football calendar year, because we both were released on the same day. So, it's money we're due. But once, and my agent has been handling it. But once Todd tweeted that out, I had to piggyback on that. I thought it was too good. So, it's money that's due, but. I think in the contract we were expecting it on one day, and it's just coming a little late. But it's funny to read some of the comments because everybody thinks we're tone deaf with all that's going on in the world currently. But I mean, this is money that's owed for services rendered that we agreed to in a contractual agreement. So
Bingo.
That's all we're asking for. I mean, it's not like we're claiming for money that we're not due. We're just asking to put a bow on it.
Yeah, Clay, we know people can go on and look at people's contracts and everything, so we already know the number. Why don't you tell the people, how much do they really owe you?
I mean, hey, why don't you give them a link, all right? I'm sure you could put a link up there somewhere like that. I just, I don't know if that's, it's up there. It's up there. It's not as much as Todd, though, so maybe you should ask him. Have him call in.
Clay, you're working out. What does the future hold for you? Obviously, you're in contact with your agent on a regular basis. We're in wild times right now. What are you thinking about moving ahead? And obviously, the draft's here in a couple weeks. Are you going to wait till training camp? What does your future look like?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to be completely forthright, I was shocked when I was released. I felt like I, exceeded the Rams' expectations of the player they were getting, as well as my contractual. Or the contract in which they gave me. Thought I, exceeded that, and so it kind of caught me by surprise. But obviously I know they're up against the cap, and they've got some players with some big contracts, and tough to deal with that. But ultimately, I still want to play. I've been in contact with a number of teams, and like you had mentioned, obviously with a guy who's been in the league as long as I have, most in free agency, the run is usually made on those guys hitting their second contract, middle 20, 25, 26-year-olds and everything like that. So I think we'll let the draft kind of unfold, and then teams will reassess their needs, and hopefully there's a team out there, a winning team that needs somebody of my caliber who can come in and do what I do and hopefully get them over the hump. So right now we're just playing the waiting game, and like you had mentioned, you're not in a rush with everything that's going on. I mean, obviously, off-season program's going to be canceled, and who even knows about the start of the season? So we're just hanging tight, just like everybody else, and playing it by ear. So we'll see what happens, but I can still play. I still want to play, and we'll see what that means or where that means.
Do you have any kind of time frame on that? Like, when you talk to your agent, do you have any kind of range? Like, could it be right after the draft? Could it be in July? Like, do you have any clue?
I'm not sure. I think if I really wanted to, and I was, desperate to join a team for, a contract that probably wasn't, up to, what I deserved, then I'm sure I could have done that already. But I think ultimately, at this point in my career, we want to find a team that makes the most sense. And beyond me now, AJ, as you're, privy to, with married with 3 kids, I mean, you got to do what's best for the family too. And that doesn't mean just jump to the first, team that makes an offer. So, but like I said, I don't know when that is, because this is obviously, I obviously went through this last year when I was done with the Packers, but I would assume it would be after the draft, probably before training camp, and like I said, when a team reassesses their need and go, hey, we can plug this guy in and he'll make our team better.
Clay, I do remember back in the day, you had the Chunky Soup commercial. I believe you had a hair commercial as well because your hair was incredible. Why did you stop doing that? Did you get sick of having to talk about it, or was it because you turned more family-based? Because I assume in the locker room, every time a commercial came out, there was a conversation about it. Every time something happened, there was a little bit. Did you just get tired of doing that and just wanted to move forward?
No, you know what? There honestly was no rhyme or reason for the offers that were thrown my way. Obviously, the hair is turned into this larger-than-life, deal that I got going on, and it makes me easily recognizable in a game in which, we're wearing helmets and our faces are covered and there's not a lot of advertising. But ultimately, I've had, a down year, and I've had, 4 to 5 national offers, with companies, and I've also had some of my best years, and you'll have one offer come in. So ultimately, I think it's a mix between family time, ultimately with free agency and everything, and to be completely honest, obviously playing in Green Bay where it's so marketable and recognizable, and having sustained success for so long, playing with the likes of obviously AJ and Aaron Rodgers and all those guys, it just, you were a household name. And, I think that's kind of changed, and it's ultimately moving towards the younger generation. But now that you mention, I'm not sure who's kind of sweeping up with these, these NFL endorsements anymore. I know Peyton was, he was ruling it for some time, but I don't know who's taking the cake now.
Clay, what was that like? Obviously, you spent a lot of time in Green Bay, and then you go out and go back basically to where you grew up and play for the LA Rams. I guess, was the transition like you thought, and like how different was it going out there?
Yeah, well, that was my first time, being a free agent. So other than, coming out in the draft, it was completely new for me. But, when the Packers let me know that they weren't going to renew my contract and that we were going to move in a different direction, I told my agent one of the first teams that I wanted to be a part of was, the LA Rams. Obviously, coming off the Super Bowl, the year before, and the idea of playing alongside guys like Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers, Dante Fowler really appealed to me. And obviously, with what Sean has been able to do, with the team and the culture that everybody speaks about. So coming home, it was everything that we kind of imagined as far as I grew up 20 minutes from Cal Lutheran, where we practiced each and every day. It was just so familiar, and the kids were finally in one place for the entirety of a year, not traveling back and forth from California to Green Bay each year or any other team for that matter. So all that being said, we really enjoyed it. Playing at the Coliseum, where I went to school at USC, got to play there again, and lots of family members got to come to the game and check it out. So was hoping for at least another year out here, but it was fun. It was kind of everything I imagined. It provided a renewed sense of energy. Being out here and just having something new.
I would love to talk to you about your USC days. That team you were a part of back then was just fucking next level. I mean, it was awesome. It was must-see television. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I think whenever you were at the Packers, Kevin Green, right? That guy really helped your entire career. Is that accurate? I remember, they would always do, these certain spotlights. They're like, this is Kevin Green from Steelers, and then they would show Clay Matthews and AJ. Everybody was like, this guy's the linebackers coach. He's really done a lot. Was Kevin Green a massive impact on your career?
Yeah, I definitely, absolutely. In fact, I think I'm going to digress here a little bit, but there was a number of guys that he worked with early in my career, where one of the things, and AJ, I know you're obviously very well of this, but he taught the fundamentals and technique of the position, and it was little things, his hands inside, taking a step back, and he loved to talk about cobra strikes. AJ knows all about this cobra strikes. It's where you stick your face right into, whether it be an offensive tackle or a tight end trying to block you, and you just absolutely stun them. I don't think they can teach that anymore with all the brain injuries that are going on. But I tell you what, though, he was very instrumental in kind of teaching me the fundamentals and techniques of the game early in my career. And then I think after 2013, he wanted to spend more time with his family. And then I moved on to another coach, but no, definitely those first 5 years, they were great. He got us all right each and every week. He was, from a military background, so he didn't deal with a lot of nonsense, and he got the best out of his players. And I think you saw that from his coaching style, his players, and from the highlight clips.
Let's talk about that USC team that you were a part of. That USC team was outrageous. I got a chance to be at the Senior Bowl with you, Cushing, I believe Feely was there as well.
Casey.
Everybody knows about, Leinart.
Sanchez.
Was that just a dreamland you guys were living out there in Los Angeles? I mean, the stories I have heard about the life of a USC Trojan during that time, was that just an absolute fairy tale life you were living in college, 20 minutes away from where you grew up at?
Well, I mean, for me, I'm not sure if you're familiar with my story, but I walked on there and I joined, my first year we won the national championship with beat Oklahoma down there at the Orange Bowl, with Reggie and Leinart, Lendale, all these guys who were household names at the time. And it was definitely everything you saw on TV and everything you imagine. I mean, there were celebrities, musicians, actors coming to practice. I mean, Pete does such a good job of marketing, Pete Carroll, that is, that, he made it the it show in L.A. I think the Lakers were rolling at the time, so, we were selling out the Coliseum 92,000 week in and week out. So it was pretty fun to be a part of, especially my senior year. That's when I became a full-time starter, and, obviously that was your senior year as well. That was, with the likes of Cushing, Mauluga, Mayaba, Feely, Kyle Moore, just a ton of, I think we had 12 guys get drafted that year. And it was awesome. We had a great group of guys. We were competitive. We competed against one another, and we won ball games, and we had fun doing it. So I think that's why we brought the best out in each other and had so much success, and were able to carry that into the league.
Clay, there's a lot of talk of some vets that want to find a way to get down to Tampa in so-called ring chase with a little guy named Tom Brady, fresh off the heels of his Howard Stern interview, that he was a lot more open than normal. Have you given much thought to what it may look like to strap it up for the Bucs and try to chase another ring?
Hey, I'm not going to lie to you. That crossed my mind. I thought. I think football is a little more difficult to ring chase. I mean, I know where you're going with this, but ultimately, his track record says that the Bucs, should be the team to beat in the NFC. So we'll see if there's any interest. I know they've got a stud out there rushing off the edge, but like we talked about earlier, we're just sitting tight, and hopefully something comes about with a quarterback in the likes, or in the same ballpark as Tom, and we can make another run at this.
How does that process go, Clay? your agent will say, hey, here's some teams that are interested, because you're at a whole different stage now. You said it, you're later in your career. You're going to find a good situation, a winning situation. And I think you were going to say while you were answering, and you didn't say it, you held back, which is smart, obviously, because you're still a shitty contract is what you said. But you were going to say, how does that process look? Your agent will be like, hey, here are some teams we've got interest from. Here are the pros. Here are the cons of each team. Is that how that whole thing will go? Is it more of like a field base?
I think it's. I think first and foremost, the first thing you realize in free agency is all 32. Well, I guess 31 teams are intrigued. They're intrigued with you, but that means nothing. The reality is, what team is willing to make an offer, and then once you have an offer on the table, or you agree to, a price you're comfortable with before signing on the dotted line. At least for me, I speak with my father, who's obviously played in the league and had some success doing so. I speak with my wife, people close to me, just to see if it's the right move, because I would say deep down I know what the right decision is, but I want to get the input of the people closest to me, who are going to be a part of this. I mean, because my wife picks up the slack during the season with the 3 kids, and she's up in the middle of the night with the kids, taking them to school, and if we were to go to a new city or state, with no friends or anything along the lines, it makes it more difficult for her. And you got to look at the quality of life and living. And AJ, I know you went to Cincinnati, after Green Bay, and I have to think, a large part of that was to be closer to home, growing up in Columbus, right? Dublin, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
they stink. Don't go to Cincinnati, Clay.
Well, I was speaking on behalf of AJ. But,
okay, good.
Clay, hey, last thing for me. I was thinking of Pete Carroll, also Seattle, another opportunity, maybe reunite with Pete. But we always talk about, Pat and I like to talk about college coaches trying to make the transition to the NFL. Why do you think Pete's been able to be successful and so many others have seemed to fail?
I think Pete has this uncanny ability to bring out the best in his players. He did that at SC, and he's able to do that, in the NFL year in and year out. It obviously helps when you've got a quarterback like, Russell Wilson, because you're obviously going to be on the verge of, getting to the Super Bowl every year, and they've shown that they're a perennial playoff team. And, they're just one game away from, taking it to the next level. But, he's obviously had some good fortune with his draft picks back, when they had the Legion of Boom and everything, hitting on a couple of those mid-rounders. But, I think he's just, he's a coach who appreciates the grind and who, enjoys the game. And he did, there wasn't a day you would catch him in a down mood or where he looked disheveled or distressed. He always had more energy than players on the team. I think the team, fed off that. So, yeah, he's had, obviously, I think him and Belichick, speaking of the all-decade team, made that all-decade team, and rightfully so.
I'm not happy about us not making it, Clay.
Yeah, what are we going to do, though? We just go back and play another 10 years?
I think we tweet.
It could work.
Clay, I appreciate you so much for joining us, man. I know you don't do a lot of these, so I appreciate it. Good luck. You've been a stud, dude. You've been a lot of fun to watch. Aside from the Pro Bowl thing, you've been a lot of fun to watch, and I appreciate you so much. Good luck everywhere you go.
Hey, I appreciate it, Pat. Can I tell one more story before you kick me off here? It was 2009 draft class. We obviously came out at the same time, and this was back when the rookie symposium was, was going on, and there were breakout groups, AJ, and me and Pat just so happened to be in the same group, and I don't remember anybody else from that entire rookie symposium except Pat was in the same room. Charlie Batch was our mentor, and Austin Collie, you remember him, Pat?
Oh, yeah.
He was BYU player. I have to assume he was assume he's Mormon, but he was talking about his wife and kid, and all I could remember was you and your personality that is larger than life, and you continue to make an impact on me. Appreciate you, Pat.
Hey, I appreciate that, Clay. Those were such long, boring ass days, man. I felt like my role there was to hopefully break this monotony up just a little bit. You remember Chris Carter just yelled, or not Chris Carter? Who yelled at us? Yeah, I think it was Chris Carter just yelled at us to end that. Do you remember that?
I remember somebody being on stage and telling us that his diamonds were fake. That's really all I remember. Otherwise, yeah, I just remember you, on one side of the spectrum and Austin Collie on the other side, and those are the two guys I remember. So you're doing a good job staying remembered. Just being true to yourself. I think it's admirable.
Oh, I appreciate you, Clay. Good luck, man. I hope you go win another Super Bowl, bud. Ladies and gentlemen, legend Clay Matthews. Thank you, man.
Take care, guys. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Hey, good booking, AJ.
Let's go, AJ.
AJ, good. AJ Hawk! AJ Hawk! AJ Hawk! AJ Hawk! What a moment, AJ. Good booking out of you.
Yep.
Hey,
I know how to send a text.
Hey, when you shower with guys too, you get a little bit different appreciation. He and I won the Senior Bowl together, no big deal. You won a Super Bowl with him, I won a Senior Bowl.
No big deal. I didn't realize you guys came out the same class until today.
Yeah, that's why we ate breakfast together before that Pro Bowl. Like everybody's in the same room. We're eating breakfast. It was me, him. I forget who. I think Vinny was sitting there with us. There's, I think maybe Martellus Bennett was there. Marty B was there. We had a great table, great conversation. Like, by the way, I was an active participant in the conversation. JJ Watt was like, I was a pretty active participant. He laughs. Hey, have a good one. I think he was the first one out. Gets on the bus. And then, lo and behold, I go out to punt, and he, son of a bitch, he's just trying to. I'm like, what are we doing? We're literally just breaking bread. We were just breaking bread an hour ago, and now he's trying to ruin my life.
As soon as he got on that bus, I'm going to block that motherfucker's punt. The first one I see.
I saw him eating that sandwich like he was.
It would have been because I'm sure he probably thought it would be hilarious to block a punt in the Pro Bowl, especially off of you.
It would be, by the way. It absolutely would be hilarious.
Oh, your reaction to him blocking
Oh,
your
you
punt?
son of a! Me running behind him. You son of a bitch! It would have been awesome.
Trying to you jump on his back and he carries you into the end zone.
Hey, that rookie symposium, man.
It's the worst.
Oh my God.
The people who need to hear it don't hear anything that is said. And unfortunately, the people that don't need to hear it have to sit there for 3.5 days locked down. You can't leave the hotel, and you have people are put on stage to yell at you and tell you how terrible and stupid you are. Don't give your parents a phone. Don't buy anyone a house. Don't give away all your money, which I agree with some of that part. Yeah, you can't can't put people on the payroll, but oh my gosh, they just try to make you feel like a terrible human.
Bro. I mean, I probably should have been listening. I get arrested a couple years later after that. But, I mean, there's probably some things I should have been. But I felt like I played a pretty valuable role in that entire thing. I looked around. I'm pretty good at reading a room. I feel like I'm pretty good at reading a room. And in those breakout sessions, it was us, the Packers, and the Steelers. And poor Charlie Batch was up there trying his absolute best. And I looked around at this room, and it was just a dead room. Charlie was talking to a bunch of dead souls out there. So I would ask a couple questions, just to pique a little conversation. And Austin Collie was absolutely terrified and petrified by the questions I was asking. I mean, absolutely. Austin Collie and I, by the way, would go on to become good friends. But at that moment, that was our first weekend together. It was an interesting one. It was very.
Well, have they asked you to come speak at the symposium?
Oh yeah. So
yeah, me too. You'd be awesome. You should do it. When I went, I'll let you get to your thing. But when I went, I don't remember the guy's name. The only thing I remember that was good from the symposium that I consumed and everyone enjoyed, it wasn't the breakout session. It was the whole group. And they had a guy come on. I have no idea what team he played for. I think he was a DB of some sort and a special team guy. And he'd gotten into some trouble. I think he got caught up in some pill game, and he was taking pills. I don't know if he was selling. I don't know what he was doing. But he told his whole story and how he's come through the other side now, and how he was a respectable guy and still in the league doing well. But he was really fun, and it was great. I think that is your stage. You'd be amazing.
I did go speak there, but they hustled me.
How?
They asked me if I wanted to be a part of a reaching out group, and I was told it was about connections, because at this point I had a pretty large Twitter following. I'd already built a little bit of a business by myself here. I'd already done stand-up comedy, sold out some theaters by myself, sold merch by myself, sponsored a car in the Indianapolis 500 by myself. So I thought it was like, they said reaching out, like making connections and stuff like that. I was like, all right, I'll come talk about building your own business and stuff like that. I thought that's what it was going to be. It was not what I was there for. I was there to speak about reaching out for help when you're an addict. So I was
what?
Yeah, when you're I didn't learn that until 10 minutes before I got on stage. We went through what the panel was going to be. I was there with Brian Banks, the guy that got falsely accused of rape from USC and ended up in jail. He was the first speaker. Then Warwick Dunn, who was the first documented player to need a psychologist or something to take care of his family issues that he was having. He was next to me. And then somebody else. And then I was the last person on stage. And it was about me going through the program. And I was supposed to talk about reaching out for help when I was an addict. So these guys tell tell these incredibly sad stories, and then it gets to me. And Johnny Manziel's sitting front row, right? I mean, Johnny Manziel's right there. And I turned it into I turned it into a stand-up. I mean,
I'm sure they loved it. I'm sure those players were so appreciative of you being up there.
Absolutely. And Dr. Brown, by the way, my first time meeting him, the guy that put me in the substance abuse program for 27 months and tested me 8 times a month for 27 months. I met him face-to-face for the first time backstage right before going out there. And I told him, like, thanks, like, hey, you're a real pain in my ass, obviously, for 27 months. But obviously it worked on the other side. I'm on a better side. He goes, I remember our run together or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And he just walked by. He was a nice guy. And then I got up on that stage, and, man, those draft picks – to listen to Brian Banks' story, which has now been made a movie, and it's a wild story about people.
Powerful. And Warwick Dunn's like one of the best humans alive.
Of all time. And then it's me sitting there at the end, and I'm like, what did you learn through your process, And I'm like, yeah, to be honest, probably should have partied at home. Like, that's what I was like. I was trying.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like haven't you had buddies who have gotten a DUI, and they have to go to, like, they have to go to some meetings. Oh, you got some counseling sessions, and they have to go sit in basically like at an AA meeting, and some guy's talking about they have to go around and tell stories. He's like, well, yeah, I was high on meth and took my kid and hung him off a roller coaster and then rode a zip line out of my house into a pool, and everyone's dead. But, hey, I'm back. I'm here now. I'm alive. Like, that's what it sounds like.
I should have just went full. By the grace of God and by the pastor and the Lord himself.
Good book.
Like the pastor that's blowing coronavirus away.
Oh, yeah. By the way, at first he was praying with his oily ass hands in a way, and then that didn't work, so then he decided to get his mouth involved and started blowing that shit. That guy was interesting. But yeah, that was a wild scene. And I have been complimented by people in that draft class as being somebody that they appreciated during that, because I couldn't imagine being forced to listen to something like that ever again. That rookie symposium was terrible, man. It was. I should have listened, but it was terrible.
I wonder if they still lock them down. Did they lock you down? I remember we couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't leave the premises of the hotel.
Curfew.
Yeah.
Your hotel.
Like, I had people, I think ours was in San Diego when I went, or somewhere in California. And I think I had family that I was trying to, like, have dinner with after we got done with 19 hours of meetings, and they're like, no, you can't leave. What?
No, yeah, we're checking your room. Like an
wait,
hour.
I thought we're professionals now. This isn't.
No.
What are we doing?
No. You don't have any respect for your elders either. That's what Chris Carter told me.
You want to know what? Oh, Chris Carter, I think that's an annual thing he does, is yell at the symposium. I think he was there when I was.
Well, he got in trouble because he said he got to have a fall guy. He changed his routine from yelling at people to trying to help out, in the way he worded it wasn't exactly what people wanted to hear. By the way, pretty valid piece of advice, but I can't be saying that as a representative of the NFL. I should have listened. I mean, I bought my parents, I think at this point, 2 houses. Bought my brother a house, got them some cars, took care of all my family. That's what you're supposed to do.
It's all right. You're a generous guy.
Well, that's why I want to raise my hand and be like, so what, everybody should just fucking eat shit now? Like, should I not get my family out of debt? Like, is that not the right move, sir? Well, you got to make sure you take care of your P's and Q's, I'm like, yeah. Well, how about my moms and dads? How about we take care of that? Marcellus Wiley was up there talking about how he shouldn't own a gun. He told this entire story about how he had a gun in his car, and it made him act different because he knew that the gun was there. And one day he was changing so much, he actually went over to Niagara Falls because he was in Buffalo, and he took that gun and he got out of his car. He looked at it one last time and said, "No more will you be affecting how I feel mentally," and he threw it in Niagara Falls. I was like, oh, it sounds like you killed a guy.
Powerful story. Tell me if I'm wrong. I can own a gun without carrying it in my car, right?
Law says that is correct.
Okay.
Well, Marcellus, I think, was just telling people, it ain't about that life anymore. Let's move forward.
Yeah, it's a good message he's sending, but unfortunately,
well, he got questioned though. He got questioned by the crowd.
Oh,
there was people that were like
that's another tough crowd to speak to, because if they think the guys will come at you hard.
Well, and who's more gangster than who, right? Because if one guy asks a question about owning his gun, then the person that's on this side that he wants everybody to know he is more gangster than that person. Now he's got a question, and Marcellus has got to answer now all these questions to these guys that are planning on going and potentially shooting people up. It was an interesting scene. DeMaurice Smith, that was his first ever speech as NFLPA president, was our symposium. I wish I would have asked Clay Matthews about that. There was a lot of – it's a shame Clay didn't remember it. It was actually pretty entertaining now that I hindsight it.
Yeah, it does. We're making it sound a lot better than it actually was. When in reality,
it's
there
just-
was like 3 or 4 minutes a day that are fun to talk about now, but the other 15 hours were brutal.
Shit show.
They've asked me to come back and be a part of some of those panels or speak, and especially now that you're laying out what you did and what other people said, what the hell would my message be? Like, I don't have any story to tell.
How come they're not asking me to speak to these kids? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I don't know. I could tell you.
Or do they try to like get players like with like the room checks and stuff like that in the curfew? Or are they trying to like set guys up to like get them in trouble?
No, I think why they do it is because it would be a real bad look for the NFL if guys got in trouble while they're at the rookie symposium. Like they sneak out, they're caught at some bar, something happens. Like that's just a really, really bad look for the league.
Could you imagine that rookie symposium meeting the morning after a couple guys would get arrested at a local bar or whatever? That would be awesome. It would be awesome.
Schefter, Rappaport, they would be all over it.
According to my sources, Austin Coley and Pat McAfee got arrested at a bar at the symposium hours after learning about why they shouldn't be at a bar at the rookie symposium. That would be awesome. Let's check in with our guy, Diggs.
Hey.
Diggs, how you
Oh,
doing?
hey.
We can hear you there. Okay.
Hey, pal.
How many miles in are you?
5.5.
I see we moved the clock, the timer.
Yeah, it was there it is.
Z.
It was
But-
too far away on the other couch.
No, but it's not on the
It was a Zito production. With that awesome
You're
charger.
basically done, man. You're almost there.
Thanks,
Congrats.
AJ.
22 hours and 25 minutes left. How far along are we on that treadmill?
5.5 miles.
Let's go!
Let's go.
Get some incline going there, Diggs.
No. Yeah.
You want to work out, don't you? You can walk for 24 hours straight. If you're walking on flat ground, it's not even a workout.
Are you next, Age?
What are you, 95 years old? Are you
might be.
pistol? Are you pistol and you think walking 18 holes is your exercise for the day?
1,000%, yes.
Okay. Yeah, it is a little bit. You're right.
Hey, by the way, I want to let everybody know that today's show is brought to you by Raycon. We love what you do, and we don't want you to change. Our collective success depends on you staying true to your. Oh, that's what they're telling me to say. Hold on.
In parentheses, relate to yourself somehow.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, these E25 true wireless earbuds brought to you by Raycon are the best in-ear wireless, no stem having earbuds in the history of earbuds.
Easily.
They cost half the price and still have the exact same sound quality. Now, how is that possible? You say, well, the reason why it's possible is because a guy named Ray J, ever heard of him? He created these bad boys. And Ray J said, I've been in a situation in the past where maybe somebody else made a lot of money off of my work. Maybe somebody else made a lot of money off of my work. I want to be a guy that absolutely is known for taking care of people because that is what my legacy is. So he created Raycon with that idea in mind. And we all know celebrities like Cardi B. Ever heard of her?
Oh yeah.
J.R. Smith, ever heard of him?
Yeah.
How about Snoop D, Double G? He's had a lot of headphones on. He says the Raycon E25 wireless earbuds are his absolute favorite, and they're mine as well. Granted, we can't wear them during the show because we're connected to something that doesn't have Bluetooth capabilities, but as soon as I get out of here and I'm going to work out, you know what I'm putting on? E25 Raycon earbuds. Yeah. And right now, if you go to buyraycon.com/sports talk, you'll get 15% off your order. That is buyraycon.com/sports talk for 15% off your order. Every day, E25 earbuds are the best model yet with 6 hours of playtime on this thing. 6 hours of play. Seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design. It gives you a nice noise-isolating fit. It also comes in new fun colors. And go to buyraycon.com/sports talk for 15% off your order. These things are legit.
Oh yeah.
It's weird how they stay in your ear. Because I always thought the AirPods, right, that little dangling thing is the reason why it stays in your ear. It turns out Raycon has figured out a way to make things stick in your ear, and they stay in your ear, and it looks beautiful while you're doing it.
Yeah, a lot better. They're better than AirPods. AirPods don't stay in my ears. I might have weird ear canals, but especially if you're trying to work out or do something, AirPods don't even come close to staying in my ear.
They slip out or pop out of my ear. I got weird ears too. I can't do the in-ear stuff on a regular basis. The AirPods were the first ones that would stay in a little bit longer. These bad boys, though, locked and loaded in there with the same bass and sound as the expensive brands, but at half the price.
Very true. And I like it, as part of the read, you talking about Ray J taking control of his life, and he's leading this. He's making the money from that. So, yeah, I think it's a great thing he's doing here.
Well, he takes care of other people. He set one particular family up for $1 billion operation.
Yep.
Shout out Ray J. H-A-H-A. Now he's doing it with Raycon. He's setting up everybody else to enjoy their audio experience with the E25. Buy Raycon.com/sports talk for 15% off your order. I would recommend these. AJ would recommend these, as would all the boys. And we have a sponsor, so that's good news.
It's always good news.
Please take care of the company that chose to invest in this stupid show. That would be very, very nice of you. Big thanks to Clay Matthews for joining us. AJ Hawk, incredible booking. And also, good luck to our friend Diggs, who's still out there marching along.
Hey, Pat, let's set it in stone before we head off the show. Are we going to do a Thursday night round one? We're going to do a live draft show, I think.
Well, the McAfee and Hawk for that Thursday will just move to draft night.
Yeah, what time's draft night? So we should start probably 20 or 30 minutes before the actual first pick happens.
And I think we should have some other first-rounders on the show before the draft kicks off to hear what they were potentially thinking, like yourself going into the draft, your mindset. We'll find some other first-round picks who got nothing else going on and hopefully be able to give them a call. So it'll be McAfee and Hawk prime time sports talk. First night of the year, prime time. Prime time. I watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire primetime last night.
Oh, how was it?
Who's the host?
Jimmy Kimmel's the host. And for the first 10 questions, up to 32,000 or whatever, they have a friend with them.
Oh, come on.
Eric Stonestreet brought one of the writers of Modern Family. He was sitting back there.
Not my Who Wants
Stonestreet won 125 grand. I didn't see what the next person was. Will Forte.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see how he did. He brought his dad with him.
They do it all remotely?
No, they're sitting across from each other, but there's no audience. And their friend is sitting like 7 feet behind them, and there's a monitor where they can see each other and say, yes, after the first 10 questions or whatever, you can either get rid of the 50-50 and keep your friend, or get rid of your friend and keep the 50-50. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the show. I watched it a little bit. Stonestreet was much different than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, he's a lot different than his
What do you mean?
character, for
He's
sure.
a beast.
What do you mean?
I saw him once.
He seemed to be a bit dramatic.
Yeah, I saw him once on Rich Eisen before you were going on.
Yeah.
And he was a complete stooge, to put it mildly.
Wait, he was dramatic on the show you watched last night?
It was just,
He's an actor. That's what they're performing, right?
yeah, that's what I thought, you know.
I'm going to have to go back and watch this.
I like Eric Stonestreet, Modern Family. I like his support for the Kansas City Chiefs. I like everything about it.
Seen him on game day.
But I did not. He's been on game day?
Oh, yeah. He's been a guest picker, celebrity.
You're on
picker
game day, Pat. You didn't see him?
For Northwestern.
I'm only on a couple of minutes. But by the way, will I be on that next year? That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a real question.
I think so. I think you'll be there. I think you're going to have even an expanded role from what you had this year.
That's what you would think, right?
Yeah, I think for sure it's going to happen.
That's what you would think.
If Kirk and Fowler are going to Monday Night Football, I mean,
Herbstreit would never leave college
He's
football.
staying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's staying college still, though. Even if he takes Monday night, he's still going to do it.
yeah,
You know,
but
there was something that came out that the College Game Day, which, by the way, I believe best show on television. I watched it every week at the Colts facility. It's just electric. It's WWE meets football. It's a celebration of football. From what I was told, the ratings were like this, and then one particular day it just started doing this. You know what I mean? Yodely, 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 yodely. And I don't know what date that was, but I saw it was all over Twitter there for a bit.
Shout out Bob Barker, right?
Yep, shout out Pricer and Drew Carey. You know, Cleveland rocks, dude. This show's over. Hit it.
Look good, feel good, play good.
Play good, pay good, live good, die good.
Zito's not here to mute it.
Yeah.
We gotta wait. Hey, don't say anything about anything. The whole world can hear us.
Hey world, if you're listening, this is the man that's in the picture on the left of your screen. My name's Pat McAfee. On the other side is a man whose jawline isn't as defined as it currently is. That's AJ Hawk. AJ, how do you think today's show went?
I think it was all right. Can I talk about the stuff that you told me I can't talk about on the air now?
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
No.
No,
No, you